The city of Crestwood slept under a blanket of stars, its streets quiet, its secrets buried deep. But in a dimly lit penthouse suite on the 27th floor of the luxurious Azure Hotel, a woman stood at the edge of a decision that would shatter her world. Her name was Clara Bennett, a woman who had everything: a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a life others envied. But tonight, she was about to do something unthinkable. Something she could never take back. Something that would haunt her forever. This is the story of one night, one choice, and the secret that changed everything. Clara Bennett had always been the kind of woman who followed the rules. She was the perfect wife, the perfect friend, the perfect daughter. But perfection, she had come to realize, was a heavy burden to carry. Her husband, Ethan, was a good man, kind, dependable, and loving. They had met in their early 20s, and their life together had been a picture of stability. A cozy home in the suburbs of Crestwood, a golden retriever named Max, and a routine that felt as comfortable as an old sweater. But comfort, Clara had begun to realize, could also feel like a cage. Ethan was gentle, almost to a fault. He treated Clara like she was made of glass, his touch always careful, his words always measured. At first, it had been endearing. But as the years passed, Clara found herself yearning for something more. Something wild. Something that would make her feel alive in a way she hadn't in years. She tried to push those thoughts away, burying them deep beneath the surface. But secrets have a way of clawing their way back into the light. It started innocently enough. One evening, while Ethan was away on a business trip, Clara found herself scrolling through her phone, her fingers pausing on a video she hadn't meant to click. It was a clip from an adult film, something she would have normally dismissed without a second thought. But this time, something about it caught her attention. The man on the screen was unlike anyone she had ever seen. His name was Julian Kane, tall, muscular, with a presence that was both commanding and magnetic. He moved with a confidence that made Clara's breath catch in her throat. She told herself it was just a movie, just a fantasy. But the seed had been planted. Night after night, Clara found herself drawn back to Julian's videos. She memorized every detail, the way his hands moved, the way his voice sounded, the way he made the women on screen come alive in ways she had never experienced. It wasn't long before Clara began to imagine herself in their place, her body responding in ways it hadn't in years. She knew it was wrong, but the more she watched, the harder it became to ignore the truth. Ethan could never give her what she truly wanted. One night, driven by a mix of curiosity and desperation, Clara searched Julian's name online. To her surprise, she found a private website, a place where Julian offered his services to a select few. Her heart raced as she read through the details. It was insane, she told herself. She was a married woman. She loved Ethan. But the more she thought about it, the more the idea consumed her. Before she could talk herself out of it, she sent a message. "Hi, I'm interested in booking a private session. What are your rates?" The reply came almost instantly. "Hey, gorgeous. My rates start at $5,000 for the night. Discretion guaranteed." Clara's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. $5,000 was a fortune. But instead of closing the chat, she found herself typing again. "Do you do hotel bookings?" "Of course. Tell me where and when, and I'll take care of the rest." Clara hesitated, her mind screaming at her to stop. But her body had already made the decision. She sent him the name of a 5-star hotel in the heart of Crestwood, a place where secrets were made and broken. The date was set for 1 week from now. For the next 7 days, Clara was a mess. Every time Ethan kissed her, every time he held her, she felt like a fraud. She tried to convince herself to cancel, but she never did. When the day finally arrived, she told Ethan she had a work trip. He didn't question it, simply kissed her forehead and wished her a safe journey. As Clara packed her bag, she caught her reflection in the mirror. Was this really her? Was she really about to do this? But the truth was, she didn't feel guilty. She felt alive. And that scared her more than anything. The night of the booking, Clara arrived at the Azure Hotel with her heart pounding in her chest. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her curves, her hair styled to perfection. She took the elevator to the top floor, her fingers trembling as she pressed the button. When the doors opened, there he was, Julian Kane. He was even more breathtaking in person, his dark eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined," he said, his voice low and smooth. Clara swallowed hard, her mind racing. This was it. There was no turning back now. The suite was everything Clara had imagined, luxurious, elegant, and filled with an air of secrecy. But none of that mattered. All she could focus on was Julian. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, his scent intoxicating. "You've been watching me, haven't you?" he asked, a smirk playing on his lips. Clara nodded, her cheeks flushing. "I have. And now you want to feel what they feel," he murmured, his voice a low growl. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Julian's smirk faded, replaced by a look of raw hunger. "Then let's make it happen." What followed was a night Clara would never forget. Julian was everything Ethan wasn't, bold, passionate, and utterly in control. He took his time with her, exploring every inch of her body with a skill that left her breathless. Clara had never felt so desired, so alive. It was everything she had been craving, everything she had been missing. But as the night wore on, reality began to creep back in. Clara knew this could never happen again. She had gotten what she wanted, but now she had to go back to her life, back to Ethan, back to the woman she was supposed to be. The days that followed were a blur. Clara tried to slip back into her routine, but something inside her had shifted. Every time Ethan touched her, she had to force herself not to pull away. She told herself she still loved him, but the truth was, she couldn't forget the way Julian had made her feel. The guilt was there, of course. It lingered in the back of her mind, a constant reminder of what she had done. But so did the memory of that night, a secret she would carry with her forever. Clara knew she could never tell Ethan the truth. She would take this secret to her grave. But as she lay in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't help but wonder, had it been worth it? Secrets have a way of changing us, of shaping who we are in ways we never expect. Clara had crossed a line she could never uncross, and though she told herself it was just one night, she knew it was more than that. It was a moment of weakness, a moment of desire, a moment that would define her forever. And as the city of Crestwood slept on, its secrets buried deep, Clara lay awake, her heart heavy with the weight of what she had done. Because sometimes, the hardest secrets to keep are the ones we keep from ourselves.